Good evening, Commissioners and fellow Polk County voters. I'd like to thank the Commissioners for accepting comment on the water contract tonight. The 75-year length of this contract is entirely too long, especially if it turns out to be one that is not in the best interest of Polk County citizens. It should at least be considered, looked at to be a tiered contract in 20-year increments or something of that nature. The total allowable amount of raw water that can be withdrawn downstream of Lake Adger has been assumed to be 8 million gallons a day, and this contract gives the rights to ICWD to withdraw 100% of that water. Why not make the contract for a portion of that water, say 4 million gallons a day, with options to increase that number in 15 or 20 years based on the needs and the situation of the county at that time? It doesn't appear there's been any sort of appraisal done on what's the value of that versus what Polk County will be receiving in return. The lack of a thorough financial-based due diligence by the Commissioners does not meet normal common sense business practices in my mind.
I drove tonight from Atlanta to be here because this is an important issue to me. I should have been building my permanent home by now, but it's on hold because of this agreement. In my opinion, it's a bad deal for me as a lakefront property owner of Lake Adger and a bad deal for Polk County.
I'm the fellow responsible for 90% of the changes that have been made to that contract. They all came from me, which is a little surprising. I would have thought that perhaps the Commissioners would have some changes that they want to make to it as well. Polk has a valuable asset in Lake Adger's use as a reservoir. In the contract, Polk County is essentially selling to ICWD this use as a reservoir for 75 years. And all ICWD is paying for this is they're going to repair the dam. That's it. The big question then is, are we getting true value for that very valuable asset? Right now, I don't think we have any idea what that asset is worth. I know I don't, and I don't think any of the Commissioners has the necessary expertise to value a reservoir. What you do know what Polk paid for it in 2008. Of course, you got to plug into that price the fact that Northbrook gets to use it for $1 a year, so that increases the price that you paid for it. So I think the only prudent action that these Commissioners should take is to retain an expert who will help you value a very valuable asset. Without that, you don't know whether ICWD is paying a good price for this or a bad price for this. Without any kind of value, I don't understand how you can sell an asset without knowing what its value is. And I thank those Commissioners who are paying attention to me for their attention.
It is a social injustice that all Polk County taxpayers have contributed some $7.6 million for this water infrastructure, and yet less than 1% are actually served from this public water supply system.
In 2002, when I moved here, the county was either in or just coming out of a drought. The Commissioners at that time swore to save the Polk County water for the Polk County citizens. Even then, they were aware of poachers looking for our water, trying to suck us dry. No one lives for 75 years to see anything to maturity, and that is entirely too long for anything to set in stone. Thank you.
Yes.
And why has your commission not retained a recognized water resources and supply expert to advise you of the advisability and benefits?
Any more outbursts and I'll ask you to leave. Sorry, guys. Continue.
To advise you of the advisability and benefits of considering this ICWD agreement.
I was the Saluda City Commissioner in charge of water for 4 years, and I got to work some of those issues back during the drought. What's going on in California is a good example of how things can get torn up over a short period of time because of severe conditions. We're talking about probably the most important decision I've seen this county have to make since I've been here in almost 20 years.
We, the taxpayers, vote you in as commissioners in order to look at the big picture and approve situations and deals that need to be approved based on the information that's readily available. And a deal like this, I'm not looking for you to be the subject matter expert. I'm looking for professional due diligence. I'm looking for seeking information from other sources, being creative and out of the box, and not asking you to go through the process of learning everything that needs to be learned about for a 75-year deal.
I'm a person who came from Charlotte, spent my entire life there earning money, and I'm moving here to Polk County to spend it. I live at Lake Adger. I live on the water. It's looking like a really, really bad idea. Like I made a huge, huge mistake. I'm not an expert in any of these areas, but I can smell when somebody's giving away the family farm.
How can you represent it with this 75-year commitment when you have no earthly idea of what is going to happen in the county? Let's start with the Tryon Equestrian Center. Do you have any idea of the needs of a development that big? How much the horses need, how much the restaurants need, the hotel, the whole kit and caboodle.
You will remember in 2008, 2009, we had citizens stand here at this lectern crying, churches standing here crying, asking for water because their wells had run dry. We had a lady stand here that said she had to exchange water with her neighbors so that she could wash her dishes. At that time, we saw the need to go to Broad River Water Authority and gain access to get them to come across Green Creek so that we could get these citizens water. At that time, Polk County was recognized as one of the worst drought-stricken counties in the nation. It can happen again.
Everyone agrees that water is the most important resource in the world, and it's only going to get more valuable as it becomes more scarce. But the four of you apparently believe, without any unbiased expert opinion sought, that you can judge better than future Polk County citizens 20, 50, 75 years down the road how their water needs should be handled. Shame on you. We have 7 years left on the current contract. There is no need, and in fact no benefit to the county, to sign the kind of contract you are proposing. On the contrary, it could hurt citizens of Polk County for generations to come. Thank you.
What is the rush? Where is the demand for water? Who will pay for the water line extensions? Why not fix the damn dam ourselves instead of giving away our water rights?
There are now, right now, after $7.5 million of investment in the water system by Polk County, there are 142 customers signed up to receive water. If you think about that and put it into perspective, $7.5 million, 142 customers, that works out to be about $53,000 per customer. No, I don't think for 1 minute that those customers are going to pay $53,000, and neither do you. The rest of us are going to pay that. If there's a problem in installing these water lines across private property, this contract has a provision to take care of that. It's called eminent domain, to ensure that they can dig right through our property. If you liked zoning, you are going to just flat love eminent domain.
Water will be the next oil. I think we all know that. And for you to give it away as you're doing is so foolhardy. It's like Antiques Roadshow where someone brings in this wonderful thing and they say, oh yeah, I got an estimate at the pawn shop and the guy said he'd give me $300 and it's worth $10,000. And for you, Mr. Pack, to not look at people talking very infrequently is so rude. I've been watching, and every other member looks up occasionally. But for you, I know you're busy, but it is quite disheartening, the respect that you give speakers. Thank you.
Where did the love affair with South Carolina come from? Because we are giving away all of this precious resource to South Carolina. And what are they going to do? They're going to fix a dam? And for 75 years, I mean, this is just the most ill-advised, bad decision I've ever encountered. And oh, by the way, now, hey, who wrote this thing? Because guess what? It says the contract and any disputes will be decided by the laws of South Carolina.
Mr. Stockdale, please, you're talking to us, please.
Oh, I didn't know you were looking at me.
If you want to see what I'm doing, I'm sitting here writing everybody's comments, so I have everything.
Okay, all right.
Now, if you don't like it, I can start clearing the room.
No, well, here's the deal. No, listen to this. Listen to this, Mr. Pack. Listen to this. Because as I understand it, South Carolina gets to take our water and sell it to Atlanta or Chattanooga. I mean, to me, look, I know you guys are all working hard for this. I mean, look, I don't say go slow. I say stop and start anew with input from the people. And if there's a problem, let's figure out what the problem is and come together and solve the problem.
As we've said, we could look back at 1940 and try to predict where we'd be in 2015. It's impossible. We have to figure out what the value is of this most precious resource, water. It's the essential ingredient to life. You cannot have life without it.
I mean, we don't even know where we're going with this thing, and you guys are getting deeper and deeper. Okay? And one of these days, Mr. Pack, I'd like to be able to say to you, your time is up.
Yeah.
Yes, I've got some comments. I've got a lot of primary concerns related to this ICWD Polk water contract, and frankly they mirror what we've been hearing here this evening. And I very strongly feel there should never be a 75-year water contract in which Polk County gives up primary control of our water sources and the potential revenues from our water system to South Carolina entity such as ICWD or any outside entity. I believe it's vital that Polk County at all times have primary control of decision-making related to our water sources and water revenues. Secondly, and I've thought about this a great deal, how ICWD is offering to help with dam maintenance but not sedimentation. And I've come to the conclusion that the care for Lake Adger Dam and the care for the lake itself should always be considered together and not separately. And this would include maintenance and repair for the dam and sedimentation removal and other actions necessary to assure that Lake Adger can serve as a reservoir for public water if necessary. Also, as has been said by many here tonight, we still have 7 years remaining on the contract with ICWD to run our water system. And I supported that. I voted for it about 3 years ago for that extension to bring it out to a full 10 years at that time. So we got about 7 years left. Between now and the end of the current agreement, Polk should be able to hire the best and the brightest of independent public water advisors to help plan the future of our most valuable natural resource that we have in this county. And these advisors, along with elected officials and community leaders and citizens, would evaluate our current distribution system, the counties and the municipalities, and the quality and the value of our water supplies, potable and raw water sources. We've got a long ways to go. As Bill from McGilfrey said when we went down to Raleigh to meet with LGC, he referred to Lake Azure as Polk County's crown jewel. And I've always felt that that by and far is truly what Lake Azure is. It is our crown jewel. It is a reservoir. It has an approved watershed by DENR. It has an immense value at this point in time, and it will do nothing but grow in value as time goes on. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other comments?
I do have a question for the attorney.
Sure.
In the contract, there's talk of Polk County cooperating with Campobello if there's need for eminent domain.
Yes.
And as such, I was curious, could there be a stipulation, if the majority of the board should vote for this, that the Board of Commissioners put their name on the line and vote a resolution in support of the domain if it ever has to take place?
With respect to Polk County using eminent domain, we would, of course, have to abide by North Carolina laws and follow the statutory process and pay someone fair market value for the utility easement or for their land or whatever. Generally, whenever you're doing utility services and expansions of your water lines, when you're using eminent domain, it's generally along roadsides where the shoulder or the utility easement or the right-of-way by DOT isn't a sufficient width. So generally, it's not that much property that's taken, and generally it's along what would be a ditch line. It's close to the road.
Well, and if I could continue, one of the more interesting things, and I verified this just the other day when I was talking with the DOT official, is the fact that except for at Highway 74, Highway 9 has no DOT right-of-ways. And if, for example, if ICWD were to put in a raw water line so they could have, and the water treatment plant was just over in South Carolina, as I understand the contract, something I really do have a problem with is that they would own those raw water lines, which I don't think we should permit any water line, whether it be potable or raw water lines. I think the county should own all water lines in the county. But having said that, we may be setting up a situation where they could potentially be owning a raw water line down along Highway 9, and it's questionable whether or not they can be doing that without getting right-of-ways from every property owner down through there. And there may be a need for eminent domain happening more than once, maybe multiple times, potentially, because that's obviously the most direct route for them to take.
As I understand it, and maybe I need to relook at it, but whenever ICWD is constructing distribution expansion or what we call trunk line expansions, main expansions, those assets will belong to Polk County.
Yes.
And those are the areas that we will be exercising eminent domain. I'm not aware of us exercising an eminent domain right to let them acquire a line.
Well,
and I don't think that the general statutes would allow us to do that.
Well, then may be a major problem for them to run to a raw water
And you're
line.
right, Mr. Gasperson, that bears further research, because if the contract requires us to exercise eminent domain to condemn property to allow them to construct a water line that they will then own, I'm not certain we have the legislative authority to do that.
Well, that could be a major flaw here.
And I'll need to research that for you, and I'll get back to you on that issue.
Good, thank you.
Thank you, Ray.
Mr. Chairman, yeah, I do have one thing to say. All the changes we made at that last meeting, I think we're heading in the right direction. And I feel very confident about what we're doing. I'm encouraged by the citizens. Excuse me, I'm talking, this is my turn. I'm encouraged by the citizens' comments tonight. I think we got some good ideas we can look at. Hopefully we get them all written down so we can evaluate them more. The sediment in Lake Azure is a big problem. It wasn't created by us. It's been ongoing for a long time. We're trying to figure out how to solve that issue. We're working on it. So I appreciate all the citizens for being here, and I appreciate this board. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.